Having a battle straight. Oh my god. Interesting. Can't even use Faust. That's crazy. That's whatsoever. I was exploring a lobotomy corporation branch when my consciousness sinks into the depths. The sense of cognition, itself a concept without form, floats into the shadow of an ever-widening river, swept up in its currents to nowhere. When we ran into an abnormality, but Sort told us that Hong Yuan's lobotomy corp branch should be free of any abnormalities. Okay, so this is after Hong Lu's canto. Okay. The abnormality, which had appeared out of nowhere, was more otherworldly than any we'd encountered so far in our journey, and deep blue. It was fathomlessly blue, and seemed to have a pull that endlessly drew us into itself. Just as I was about to recall this abnormality, a myriad of sceneries and a flood of incalculable thoughts crashed into my mind like wild waves before ebbing away from its shores. I was already lost and adrift somewhere within my own consciousness when I realized this. Just how long am I going to be adrift? The sensation of my own consciousness floating away is quite the unfamiliar one. I floated about in that strange state for a while. Okay? An unfamiliar voice seizes my aimlessly drifting consciousness. Are you Dante? The fog of my vision clears as the voice breaks through the waves, and a concerned expression comes into view. Yes, I am. Ah, what a relief. Gregor, I think Dante has come too. So who are... I was about to ask further questions to this stranger with particularly long animal-like ears, but... I felt the drowsiness coursing back with the terrifying memories of the dream, rendering me unable to speak. I have to get a hold of myself. After an indeterminate amount of time had passed, I barely managed to wake myself from a slumber to get a grasp of my surroundings, only to find myself surrounded by more unfamiliarities. Ooh. From the face, it kind of looks like there's like an entirely different artist. Like, it looks like it's drawn by someone else entirely. Dante looks the same as always, but yeah, clothing wise, it looks Limbus company, but the face they like kind of did 1-to-1. Okay, interesting. There was that stranger from earlier, sitting atop a rock and silently taking in the sights. A young girl who probably saved my life. Wait, so were those animal ears after all? Okay, that's not important right now. I have to prioritize figuring out just where in the world I ended up in. So, we're standing by the Iberian coastline. How are you feeling? A little out of it, but I'm okay otherwise. Iberia, huh? Yes, we're in Iberia. Well, given that we're next to an ocean, maybe I drifted all the way to Ukop's Great Lake. Iberia was an unfamiliar name, but that was all I had to go on, given that the city was still full of more unknowns than knowns to me. I radioed your colleagues when you briefly woke up earlier. They'll be here any minute. I see. She's so tiny. Wait, my colleagues? They must have run into the sinners then? The fog of my mind immediately cleared as soon as I realized that the sinners were all nowhere to be seen. Sinners? Okay, it just came across my mind that she can understand what Dante is talking about. I think so. I ran into them earlier. They were all looking all over the place for someone with a clock for their head. It was a pretty unique description, so I could tell right away that you were the person they were looking for. Is that jacket original? There's a Rhodes Island. So, this clock head does come in handy. Manager Bird. Dante. I'd woken up in an unfamiliar place to an unfamiliar face, and in the midst of all-around sense of displacement, the faces that appeared before me were certainly a sight for sore eyes. Gregor, Honglu. Miss Rabbit here told me she found you unconscious by the ocean, and phew, I came as fast as I could, and oh boy, I was worried that something bad might have happened. I'm glad to see you're doing fine. Were you lost at sea? I don't know. Well, I do think I'm fine though. I guess not having any way to drink water's finally come in handy. You should go get that checked out just in case. Wait, your head's waterproof, right? Gregor takes a moment to steady his breathing, then mutters a casual quip as he lights a cigarette. Well, he doesn't seem that concerned. Maybe we're not actually in that much danger. So, what happened? Where are we? Do you remember entering that lobotomy corp branch Sichun told us about? Ah, yeah. Yeah, we ran into a new abnormality and got sucked into it before we even had a chance to do anything. Man, I really thought that was it for us, especially with you getting sucked in there too, Manager Bud. Okay, so it's an abnormality that sends you to different dimensions. I can think of a couple in mind. But when we came to, despite waking up with our faces down in some ditch, we were all fine without a scratch, though there was quite the mess when we realized that you'd gone missing. We wanted to search for you immediately, but it took a while before we got a better bearing of where we were. So we're now at U-Corp's Great Lake? Some of us consider that to be a distinct possibility, but it's unlikely. Ishmael was really certain that we were not in District 21. She did concede that we might be in an unknown area within the Great Lake of the outskirts, but that doesn't seem likely either, given that the rabbit-eared lady there said, "The outskirts region of the Great Lake. I've met all kinds of people from all over Terra, but I've never met anyone who referred to the Iberian Sea that way." Terra? Iberia? As I found myself puzzled by these unfamiliar terms, a very obvious question suddenly struck me. Speaking of which, who are you? Huh? Really? You fellas haven't introduced yourselves to each other yet? It's just that it's all just a lot to take in. It's understandable. You did just wake up from a pretty harrowing experience. Actually, would you like to do the honors yourself? I am Amiya, the leader of Rhodes Island. Please, just call me Amiya. I'm Dante, manager at Limbus company. I know I'm late, but thanks for saving my bacon. It seems that this Rodeo Island is a pretty big corporation, but Gregor trails off ominously and scratches his head before continuing with some mild trepidation. This young lady with the rabbit ears doesn't know what the head is at all. As far as I know, there aren't any organizations in Terra with the same characteristics as the one Mr. Gregor explained. At least not with the name like the head. Also, sorry, it's Rhodes Island, not Rodeo. Sorry, Gregor's kind of bad with names. So, what you're saying is that we're not in the city anymore? It'd be weird for any higher up at these huge corporations to know less about the head than we do, let alone be completely clueless about it. Well, maybe we've tumbled into a previously undiscovered zone of the outskirts or the ruins, probably. Or maybe we really found ourselves in a completely different world. If their conjecture is correct, we're in way bigger trouble than I thought. This wasn't like the time we accidentally stranded ourselves in the outskirts via a door in the corridor. Amiya stared at me with some concern as though she felt my distress. I think I can draw a connection to something else that's happening here. Really? Yes. Recently, anomalous signs and events have been occurring in Iberia, ever since a mysterious dimensional door appeared at sea. And it's been said that this dimensional door is connected to something very, very distant, to something that we've never observed before. So, it seems reasonable to theorize that the dimensional door is how we managed to cross over to this world. I really would have appreciated Faust's input. Where'd all the other sinners go anyway? A bit late on the uptick to be gawking around for the other sinners now, don't you think? They're at a settlement near here, where they're all helping out with various odds and ends of the village, while taking turns searching up for Dante, of course. You know, I never thought about how difficult it would be to search for someone when we're like fish out of water too. Man, barely got even a wink of sleep since yesterday. Everyone's got to be really tired then. So it's just you two out here for now? No, Ishmael and Yisang are the other half of the search party, and we just happen to be the last group in the rotation. They must be searching elsewhere to find you, Manager Bud. We got the news early thanks to Amiya's comms gear, but the other team didn't. Yeah, we got lucky. The other team, well, we don't have any other way to get in touch with them, so they'll probably continue their search until their shift is done. Oh, are we talking about the village you mentioned earlier? Uh-huh. Right, you've not been there yet. Huh. I guess it's a bit off the beaten path. Well, we're going to have to rendezvous with the other sinners anyway, so let's head to the village for now. Something seemed to pique Amiya's interest as she fell into a contemplative silence before carefully speaking up. I would like to accompany you there. Sure, I don't see why not. You helped us find Manager Bud, and more importantly, you seem to know a lot more about this place than we do. Haha. I don't actually know Iberia that well either, but I should be able to be of some help. They've closed their borders and have practically locked out any foreign influences from affecting them, but I did get a briefing before the mission. Closed borders, huh? Then how did you get in, Miss Amiya? We followed Dr. Kaltzit's directions and illegally crossed the country border. Illegally? Oh, does that mean you crossed the border without obtaining any permission, Amiya? We had to cross the border somehow in order to investigate how and why the dimensional door came to be. Huh, is it normal for pharmaceutical companies to be doing that? Large pharmaceutical companies often dispatch their agents for missions. Yes, Rhodes Island is, in its essence, a pharmaceutical company researching treatments for people infected with oropathy, but we also work to prevent and assist in the management of various situations that can occur in high-risk areas. High-risk areas, huh? Wait, what about your companions? I doubt you come all the way here on your own. We were forced to split up due to certain forces that were in pursuit. Wait, stop! Amiya's ears twitched as she came to a stop and began scanning the surrounding area. Then, there. As we stood about confused, Amiya, noticing something, pointed toward the seashore, hidden behind large and cracked rock formations. What are we supposed to... huh? There, we saw someone wielding a lengthy greatsword, bickering with two familiar faces. Again, move. You're in the way. You needn't worry as you do. We have had ample experience battling monsters who are much like them. Listen, I'm not worried. It's... come on, better to have 3 fighters than 1, right? Besides, you're the first person we ran into out here, so we got a lot of questions to ask. Yisang, Ishmael, Dante, you are unharmed. And here I was getting ready for a 3 days long search. What a relief. We were all really worried that we might never be able to find you. We managed to find them thanks to help from Miss Amiya here. Amiya? Are you two acquainted? Not a good time for a reunion. It can wait until after we take out the sea monsters. Skadi, are those organisms the seaborns Dr. Kaltzit mentioned? They're sea terrors, to be specific. The less sophisticated ones among them. And they're probably here for me. Sea terrors? I hear the sticky noise of something viscous slithering against the rocks. When I turn to face the origin of the unsettling noise, I smell the heavy, wet scent of brine. At the end of my gaze awaits strange monsters, unlike distortions, unlike abnormalities, unlike anything I'd ever seen. It is as though the sea itself is encroaching on the land. I was almost certain we weren't at the Great Lake, but I'm not so sure anymore. Her experiences with the thick scent of brine at the Great Lake must have put her in a wary mood, as Ishmael seemed to be a lot more apprehensive about these monsters than anyone else. Do you think those creatures could be whales or mermaids? I don't know. The Great Lake and the outskirts are full of unexplored mysteries after all. Dante, what do your senses say? It's unclear. I'd say the closest comparison I could make is with the whales, but even that's not conclusive. More enemies on the horizon. We should prepare for battle. Doesn't seem like we can talk things out with them though. So, let's take them out! Is that Japanese voice line in my Korean game? Not much I can do then. Alright, some of you can most likely tell I have no knowledge of Arknights whatsoever. So yeah, any lore about it I will first discover through this game. Will I ever touch Arknights? Probably not. I'm not really a fan of their style of gameplay. What is it called? Tower defense? Yeah. It is rather interesting that this is like a one-time collab event, right? And they put it right after the latest Kanto. I would just assume that it wouldn't be main story related in any form, so that like new players can, maybe Arknight players can come into Limbus and like experience the story straight away kind of thing. I don't know if the game allows that, as in like I don't know if the game allows you to like skip all the previous Kanto to just experience this one-time story. I mean, I hope they should, because like, if this is really one time as they say, it's pretty important to like share it with as much people as possible in the Kanto. Ooh, okay, that's different. Alright. All remaining enemies have retreated to the sea. Good work, everyone. Phew, I didn't think I'd have to deal with anything remotely like this outside the Great Lake. You can say that again. It would have taken us the whole day if that Scuddy character didn't occupy the other half while Miss Rabbit helped us from a distance. As we were catching our breath after the battle, I heard a brief hum. When I turned to look at its source, I saw Scuddy glaring at me with palpable alarm. Strange people who transform. And ahead of a clock. I guess they're both technically true. While it's nothing more than a theory at this point, I think they have a lot to do with the dimensional door we're supposed to be investigating. Nice to meet you, I guess? I only hear a ticking clock. Ooh, that's because only us sinners can hear Dante's voice. Huh? What's up? No, I'm just wondering how Miss Amiya can seemingly understand Dante. Yeah, what's going on here? Huh. Yeah, it completely flew over my head that I didn't even question how weird this is. Their voice sounds like a ticking clock to me too, but I don't know. It's almost like I can sense what they're trying to say, what kind of emotion they're trying to convey. Her explanation reminded me of the blue boy in Sinclair's past, but I didn't quite feel the uncanny sensation from Amiya that I felt from them. So she can read me kinda like how Vergilius can, I guess? Well, I don't think it's a bad thing. That's true, it's been a bit of a hassle to always need Faust or Hong Lu to translate for you, Dante. I'd like to know exactly how she can understand Dante, but I don't think we've got the luxury of time to sit down and figure this out. So are we heading back? Sounds like a plan. It's not like we know anywhere else to go, right? Oh, and Miss Rabbit here'll be tagging along too. She said she'd help us find our way back. I'm glad to be working with you two also, Miss Ishmael, Mr. Honglu. Took the words right off my mouth. You've already helped us plenty, and you clearly know a lot more about this place than we do. The journey is long. Perhaps embarking on it ere the sun's fall would be wise. She thanked Honglu when it's supposed to be Yi-sang, right? Alright. How long's the journey? No idea. It's not like we have a clock with us. I do know that it's not very far though. We just need to walk along the coastline for a bit. No, I do not tell time, Scuddy. Calm down. Scuddy quietly points in my direction. Oh, Dante can't tell us the time because they're not on time. Then why the clock head? I didn't exactly choose to get myself a clock-shaped head. I looked away from Scuddy's inquisitive eyes, which were quite solidly fixed on my head. The coasts of Iberia are hardly good places for people to live. Those things can go anywhere in this world, but they thrive at places that meet the ocean. So how did people manage to build a village at a place like this? The monsters are called seaborns, or sea terrors, yes? While it is true that they pose certain difficulties, they were hardly the kind of monsters with the strength to bring scourge and drive out the local populace. Don't judge them based on that brief skirmish. She's just telling us to be on our guard, right? Skadi can be a bit curt, but she's not a bad person. I don't think she said anything wrong. Nothing rules out the existence of stronger variants of these creatures being out there. Skadi's concern only served to fan my curiosity, but something about her expression communicated that I probably shouldn't pry, so I quietly quickened my pace as we walked to the village. This hardly looks like a village. It's more like the ruins of one, isn't it? It doesn't seem like they've done any proper upkeep to the place. Not in a while, at least. They're really here, living together. The strange buildings tell the stories of former prosperity from a bygone era. Our steps leave no footprints on the wet, muddy ground. On it, I see a rotting sign marked with a name, Faro Muerto. Everywhere I look in this village, I see evidence of long, silent abandonment. We don't see these kinds of abandoned-looking ruins often in the city either. Well, yeah, there's always someone or something out there waiting to capitalize on that free real estate, be it a syndicate or a corporation, and fix it up. Better than this, at least. So where are the sinners? Ah, there's a clearing down there where we were entrapped betwixt a twain of great ships narrowing, winds against our sail. Is it weird that I can tell that it's her straight away from just one word? Ooh, oh wow. She can captivate an audience. And that is when young Ishmael boomed, her command most resonant. Say no more. I didn't even have to try to search for them, that unmistakably sonorous and familiar voice echoing triumphantly between the empty buildings. Ooh, there's lights now. That's Don Quixote's voice when she's sharing her adventurous tales. There she was, standing atop a low podium like an actor on stage, regaling a group of people in rags with tales of our adventures like a travelling thespian. Answers, ye dogs, oarsmen! 'Tis the moment I, Ishmael, the first mate of vessel Mephistopheles, shall never... Stop! Hold on, just what do you think you're doing? Young Ishmael, I had my mouth. I was just about to regale them with the most fantastic tale of adventures at Great Manager Esquire. Verily, thou hast returned with Manager Esquire safely in tow. What? They found Clockhead? Excuse me. A burning clock for a hit. Ooh, new NPCs. When I was a child, I heard a story about a legendary circus with a flaming head. Why would someone like that visit our humble village? While their exterior may carry elements that inspire fear in some, there is no cause for alarm. Yeah, they might look like that, but they're Dante, our manager, and the rest are... Oh, hello. I'm sorry. Who are you two? They're two very nice people who helped us find Dante. This is Miss Amia, leader of Rhodes Island. And this is Miss Skadi, their operator. They'll be coming along with us for a little while. Eh? With us? We believe that the dimensional door, which we at Rhodes Island are investigating, has something to do with why you suddenly woke up here in Iberia. As Amia was bringing the sinners up to speed, the villagers, who were staring at us curiously, approached us. Did our conversation manage to convince them that we're not a threat? I sure hope so. You are our friends. You are friends of our saviors. Saviors? Verily, this is quite the grand title, yet that is indeed the word by which we addressed. To be more precise, by saviors, they are referring only to Faust and Otis. Faust gave me a light nod when we made eye contact, but I could tell that her lips were drawing a very, very subtle smiling arc. So, I'm guessing something did happen. They were quite mistrustful upon our initial arrival. What business do outsiders have here? What if they're from the Inquisition? Oh no, what do we do after all we went through to get here? Calm yourselves, everyone. None of them are carrying what appears to be their scriptures or lamps. Let's first try to see who they are. Man, I don't think they're gonna trust us anytime soon. They're all old curmudgeons. That's STNC, then PTSD. You can't do that, Ryoshu. We can't pillage their storage depots. It looks like they already have it hard enough as it is. That Ryoshu went straight, had that logistical mindset. It's like, oh, we need to get the rations if we're stuck in a strange dimension straight away. I don't think STNC is a good way to get started either. Should we just find help elsewhere? Just look at how thin their arms are. I don't think they're in any shape to help us out. Perhaps we could inquire as to our whereabouts, we are to decide our lodging. But the landscape is certainly reminiscent of U-Corps. But I don't recall seeing or learning about any place that looks like this. Though I can't say I've been to every corner of U-Corp. I ask again. About you. What does Hong Yuan need? What business do outsiders have here? These fingers are tightening around the grips of their weapons. Prolonged silence will most likely turn this into a hostile encounter. We can't have that. Hi, we're from Limbus Company. We're fixers of justice. Yeah, that fixers of justice. Oi, don't you know when to keep it down? Fixers? That over there. It's a ship blueprint, isn't it? Are you looking to repair a vessel by any chance? All these construction materials seem to suggest so. Chief, this does not concern you. It's not something a mere outsider can understand. Curious, I've never seen an energy source like this before. Have you run the tests to rule out any stability issues? It seems to power the heat exchanger via some method comparable to the utilization of fusion energy. Have you any thoughts on this, Miss Faust? The general design structure is somewhat old-fashioned, but there are certainly other awe-inspired parts to this design, particularly with the usage of the core energy source. While its stability would need to be further studied, this technology seems to be incredibly energy efficient. You identify all that merely by glancing at this blueprint? You must be the village chief then. If so, I have a proposition for you. In return for assisting in their ship repair, we were promised a ride on their vessel. Miss Faust has theorized that perhaps by going out to sea, we may be able to find a way to return whence we came. Does that mean we can find a way back somewhere out there in the sea? Nothing is certain yet, Dante. At this moment, we are working based on a hunch. A hunch? Sensing the implicit omen in her choice of words, I slowly turned around to look at Faust, who nodded solemnly in response. I wonder if she has the connection to Gesellschaft. If we're really in a different world, even her Gesellschaft has to be. No issues were counted in the repair process. Faust smiles faintly as she looks around, then she pulls me in by my hem. She whispered in a low voice. My connection to Gesellschaft is currently operating at a suboptimal level, Dante. So it's still connected, at least. Indeed, it is, however. Even exchanges of simple information are taking up dozens of hours by current calculation. Is this a warp train situation because we're in a different dimension? The core should be identical. We have been connected to an unidentified, unpredictable dimension. However, Faust is aware that the pathway to our original dimension is yet to close this time, unlike the situation back aboard the warp train. So to go back to where we came from, so her connection against the shaft is still okay because the door that brought us here is still open. So like the information is still has like a path to reach Faust. Okay. Well, like in the warp train, like they're like in an enclosed space, like entirely different dimension where the entrance and exit portals are closed off until the warp train is ready to leave the time space. Indeed, traveling through the pathway is the most feasible solution. And from that you came up with the whole plan to repair the ship and sail out to the sea? Yes, well, I am also a genius after all. I conjectured that we probably came through a dimensional door of sorts. Looks like that dimensional door might be what Faust is looking for. With high likelihood, yes. At least there's a way back. I find myself calming down a little. Oh, speaking of which, when do you think you can wrap up the repair job? As fortune should have it, the majority of the most time-consuming parts of the repair have already been completed by the locals. It shouldn't take us more than a day or two to get its core parts ship again, Executive Manager. We'll be staying here a few more days then. How did you manage last night? Well, like I said earlier, we've been keeping ourselves busy looking for you this whole time. We took turns helping with the repairs and resting, but I doubt any of us got a proper night's rest. Still, we weren't cold thanks to the villagers who kept the fire going for us all night. Not to mention how they helped us a ton with that local map they drew us. Oh, also Chief handed us this earlier. What's it for? Ah, looks like a sack to collect water. Give it here. I know how to get that installed. It must be to repay Miss Faust and Miss Otis's effort at repairing their ship, yet the service they provide us is certainly quite generous, even when taking the transactional nature into account. They're really giving us the best treatment they can, huh? As for food, we managed to fill ourselves with some cookies and bread Rhodia keeps in her pockets. They don't want to eat into their food supply when they're already pretty tight, you know. Haven't they been here for like 3 days? Like, can you survive 3 days with just cookies and bread? She carries enough cookies and bread for 12 people? They did offer us some nosh and those dried fish things, but we refused. I ain't about taking food from the needy. No need to concern yourself so much with our hospitality. They have done more than enough to earn your keep. I turned around to look at the source of that low, rumbling voice, and saw an old man in an outfit that seemed to distinguish itself among the other villagers. There you are, Chief. Is there a place for us to stay the night? We do have places to shelter from the misty humidity at the very least. There is an empty building there, so feel free to occupy it for the night. Oh, are you sure? I mean, I don't mind sleeping in the streets myself. Hey, speak for yourself. I've been looking forward to sleeping with a roof over my head since like yesterday. I'm sure a backstreets woman like you is fine either way. You'll catch cold sleeping in the elements in this environment, which is fine by me for the rest of you, but we cannot afford to have the executive manager or our honored guests suffer that fate. Honored guests? I heard what happened from the four, who left in search of the executive manager. First, I would like to begin by imparting my infinite gratitude to you for finding and rescuing the executive manager. I hear that you are a leader at a pharmaceutical company. This acquaintance shall certainly come in handy in case our stay becomes significantly prolonged. I'm just surprised by her boldness to say something so materialistic when they're standing right there. Can I stay in your village too, Chief? The village chief took a brief glance at the hems by her right wrist, then nodded. Welcome to Faro Muerto. You are welcome to stay as long as you want. And please do let me know if you find yourselves without food. Our food supply may be tight indeed, but we have enough to share with those who helped repair the vessel. Ooh, you better not go back on your word later. I wonder what kind of local delicacies await. Dried fish like they were eating earlier maybe? Hey Chief, what is it? Just how are you surviving out here by the sea? Perhaps the question of how we are surviving may be somewhat misdirected. For we are only pursuing every possible avenue because we must survive. The chief responds to Scuddy's perceived hostility with a hearty smile. After leaving some firewood for the night, he left. I'm going. Can't learn much from here. Huh? You're going somewhere at this isle? Scuddy, does this have something to do with the coast? I remember what you said before we got to the village. Something about coasts are hardly good places to live in. Dante wants to know if this has something to do with the coast? Do you understand the eager language? Eager language? No? Dante? Scuddy just spoke in Aegirian. I couldn't understand a word of Scuddy and the chief's conversation because I don't speak Aegirian. It may only be that there were enough lexical similarity between one of the city's languages and the language Scuddy spoke in for them to comprehend the meaning. Weird coincidence. Anyway, I have some things to look into, something you're all too slow to see. You still have to tell us about it later. Please remember you're not on a solo mission, Scuddy. This is a team effort from Rhodes Island. Will do. Scuddy nodded lightly before leaping off into the night out of our sights. I'm kinda worried. She's not the best with people, but she's also pretty thoughtful. She'll be okay. Shall we head inside? The sun's starting to set already. Oh, yeah. We can probably just pick an unlit building and stay the night there, right? Trying our best to ignore the mood that was starting to turn awkward, made our way into a nearby unoccupied Terra. What is Arknights lore? We walked past a few narrow buildings and remnants of narrow buildings. What? Before we came across a hall large enough to house all 15 or so of us. Oh, we are all sleeping under one roof. Okay, now we're ready. With the curtains on the window removed, the smoke has an exit. Whoa, I thought we were doomed to shudder ourselves to sleep with the soaking wet firewood and all. I had no idea that worked. We just have to get a small fire going underneath it until the wood dries up and catches fire. The downside being all this smoke. It's clear that she has some field experience, unlike some fools I know. I shan't sit here, let her carry the burden of labor alone. Bequeath upon me thine ingredients, young Rodion, for I shall conjure thee a spot of special fixer soup. You're making soup with cookies and jelly? No, yeah, you are not getting anywhere near the kitchen again, not after where you cooked up last time. If we're talking about the... what's it called? I forgot the name of the... intervalo. The chicken intervalo. She was of a different team than Sinclair, so how would he remember? While I must admit to a certain level of interest, as many of our fellows Viscera are oft racked with intense agony upon ingesting dishes of your making, perhaps it would be wiser that we save the occasion for a safer environment. Right, don't you remember? We agreed to leave cooking to Mer or OT if we're ever in a situation like this, remember? Did we? See, I think it's become sort of an unspoken rule after everything that happened. Remember? Back during last year's cooking contest at K-Corp, there were the only 2 people who managed to get remotely positive reviews. Ooh, does that mean we'll get to try Otis's cooking once again? Denied. We still have plenty of high-calorie foods like cookies and jellies here. I find no reason to do something so inefficient. Oh, cooking is considered inefficient to you? I'm glad to see that everyone's still energetic, given the circumstances. It can't be easy to suddenly wake up in an unfamiliar environment. Well, we're all quite used to getting thrown into unfamiliar places. Speaking of which, did you manage to reach your colleagues, Amiya? She shook her head, concerned. They might have lost their comms devices, or maybe they ran into some other trouble. Could they be in danger? I don't know, but I'm sure they're okay. The doctor, Dr. Colt, said they're both more than capable enough to look after themselves. Long have this curiosity lingered within me, thus allow me to inquire. Corporations are, by their nature, organizations in pursuit of profit. Yet the activities of your corporation resemble those of charity organizations as opposed to a pharmaceutical company. Is there aught that might explicate this blurred distinction? Aha, I wanted to know too. How come a pharmaceutical company like Rhodes Island's helping people? Something about what Hong Lu said brings back unpleasant memories. The horrible experiment seen through the cascade of flowing tears in the face of suffering. The embodiment of greed that left a terrible wound in Hong Lu's fathoms. The pharmaceutical companies I've seen in my journey were corporations that, despite possessing the capacity to heal, chose to obsess over the profit it can provide. There are many in Terra who are suffering from a disease. The disease crystallizes you. It spreads deeper and deeper into the infected's internal organs, eventually culminating in their death. It's called oropathy. Amiya showed me the back of her hand dotted by what appeared to be obsidian crystallizations. Its appearance reminded me of the biotreatments from the back streets, but there was something more to it. Something more restless, more sinister. It's a terrible, painful disease, but there haven't been any recorded cases of full recovery. But there's an even worse problem. Pray tell, what could possibly be worse than an incurable deadly disease? While it varies region by region, discrimination against the infected is widespread across Terra. Those who suffer from it must face unfair treatment. Yi Sang began with a dark expression. Some are quarantined in places with terrible, inhumane conditions, and there have been massacres too. I don't mean to be callous, but is this oropathy highly contagious? No. Sorry. There have not been any recorded cases of infection by contact, as long as the subjects are alive. But when the infected dies, the crystals growth on their body decay and turn to dust, scattering, which is what spreads the plague. Then, barring environments like active battlefields where casualties are to be expected, staying within close proximity of the infected in daily life seems to pose hardly any risk. So what's the problem then? They're already past the point of caring about what the problem is. Once people start feeling iffy, all logic goes out the window. Then Rhodes Island's goal has to be, yes, it is important to develop a cure for oropathy, but I think what really matters is that we change the circumstances for the better for the infected. That's not going to be an easy endeavor, though. That is what gives your effort more meaning. I hope you can achieve that goal, Amiya. I really do. For truth. The city, this world, we both live in worlds full of surprises, don't we? What kind of world did you come from, this city? What kind of place is the city anyway? The kind of place with too many pointless rules? The kind of place where the moment you think isn't this too much, you see something even worse. Try as I might, I couldn't think of a single positive thing about the city. What's his name? Hohenheim? The sinners seemed to be in agreement, as most of what came after was quite scathing. The kind of place where good deeds rarely ever go unpunished, where sympathy is a good attitude to have if you like getting stabbed in the back. Nothing good ever works out there. It's a shithole. It's an irrational place full of absurdities. Absurdity in it is an omnipresence. Therefore, it is not a subject by which one should be aggrieved. We can at least grouse about them though. I mean, it's the only thing we can do. It would be more correct to experience more and acclimatize oneself to it instead of complaining. You did say something like that last time. Just as the mood was starting to turn rather sour, Don Quixote's shout shattered through the awkwardness. Verily, nary a day goeth by untarnished by villains and their fell deeds. Yet worry thee not, for where evil riseth, so doth fixers of justice too. Don Quixote jumped from her seat and passionately shook her fist, which was followed by a heavy crack and the sound of small pebbles tumbling down. Don Quixote, watch out! Whoa! Huh? And from behind the wall she accidentally broke down. An unfamiliar visage of a villager appeared and stared back at Don Quixote. It appeared that she was eating something out of a can while reading a book. Ooh. Look at that face. How farest thou? Farest thy foot? You gotta apologize first. Les seemed a tad too hyper today. Apologies, for I hardly expected the wall to crumble with such ease. Art thou unhurt? Any injuries? Two? Pray tell, to what? Forget the apology, I just want to know what happens next. The fixers of justice rose up to do what? Hast thou come to me to hear the tale of fixers? I don't know about coming to us, given how Miss Don Quixote was the one who punched the wall down. Ahem. Oh, is it too late an hour? I don't mind waiting till morning if you want to sleep. Nay, not at all. 'Tis quite early an hour for tales, in fact. Prithee, sit thyself here. You ungovernable fool. Calm down. We don't even know who she is. And don't you forget to share those fixer tales over there in the corner to not disturb our sleep. Thou makest a request most untenable. These tales deserve to be announced to the world with great gusto from the center. Yeah, that's the best way to hear those kinds of stories, but we should probably introduce ourselves to each other first. Name's Mayors. How should I put this? Did you meet the village chief earlier during the day? He's my Gramps. Oh, that guy? That nice guy? So he had a granddaughter. Yet, I have not seen you once, Miss Mayors, under the sun. Oh my, you're right. I thought the village was completely dried of any young blood. Like Rhodia said, whilst we didn't see Mayors out there, there wasn't anyone else in the village we could comfortably call young. You're telling me Gramps was worrying over nothing and told me to stay put inside, going on and on about the dangers that the outsiders pose and everything. It seems that they do not give full faith to their saviors. There are things you cannot share even with whom you trust with your life though. I would like to know why. My, so there are a bunch of other kids who are stuck indoors in this village? No, there isn't anyone around my age in the village at all. If that's the case, I guess I can understand why he'd be overprotective. Anyways, it's our turn. We are... I'm good. I heard enough to get an idea. You did? Oh, pray, how didst thou hear us? Via listening device, most secret upon our chamber? Mayes tapped the side of the wall, the part of that was still standing anyway, and smiled ironically. Bad soundproofing. I could hear pretty much everything, Don Quixote, right? Everything Don Quixote practically sang during the day. But verily, I see. I think you could really do with some sense of embarrassment for once. Well, I guess that's good enough for self-introduction, so... Ooh. That's the same sparkle as Don Quixote has. Care to regale me with the tale of fixers who bring justice to the evils of the city? Indubitably. Then, this shall do. I shall regale thee with the tale in which the legendary fixer, the Arch-Magnificence himself, the Red Mist, Arch-Magnificence herself, the Red Mist, have. I suppose that killed any hope for a good night's sleep. But, don't you usually pass out within a minute of your back hitting the hay, no matter how noisy things are? What? Did you take me for some kind of hibernating bear or something? Look, even if I have trouble sleeping when there's noise all over... He's dead. I say bear in hibernation is a pretty apt descriptor. For all that grumbling and moaning, he dozed off before any of us did. Aside from Heathcliff, who began snoring the moment his head touched the ground, some other sinners were forced to sleep as well. Mersault had entered sleep in his usual steadfast adherence to the routine, while Faust laid claim to one of the few available cloth sheets as soon as the close of business of day was confirmed. The sinners, who had spent the entire last night searching for me in this unfamiliar land, slowly began to fall asleep as well. Meanwhile, the fixer of the Zwei Association's first section. Though the night was no longer young, Don Quixote was still vigorously sharing the tales of adventures without even a single sign of fatigue. She's not determined to do this until sunrise, is she? Oh, I guess it's okay since Maya seems to be having fun. As I continued to watch the pair with some mild concern, Amia, not yet asleep, approached me. This city, Miss Don Quixote speaks of, seems to be teeming with fixers of justice and exhilarating tales of adventures. Did you actually experience all of them yourselves? No, of course not. Don Quixote's stories are usually those of other famous people. But she's telling it with such vigor that it almost sounds like she was there herself. Well, I guess if you really want to get into it, some of them might be retellings of Don Quixote's personal experiences. Ishmael replied uncertainly, thinking back to the plays we were made to watch back in La Mancha land. Well, I think all those stories, even though they're only partially true, just goes to show what a ridiculous place it can be. We wouldn't need fixers of justice to begin with if we really lived in a just world, right? A really good place to live would be quiet and peaceful without someone having to force it. That's true. I hope there'll come a day when Rhodes Island can be a normal pharmaceutical company in the future. Something wrong? No, I just thought Miss Mayers and I made eye contact. Did she overhear our conversation? I looked to her direction as well, but all I saw was Mayers excitedly reacting to Don Quixote's tales. Okay, why did the screen shake so much? It seems kinda sus. Whoa, what happened then? Thus spake Lady Otis, boldly before the soldiers who stood in our path. Thou presumest to stand in our path, servants of a master most unworthy? I, Otis, shall educate ye on how manner maketh. Don Quixote was now retelling the stories of Limbus Company's adventures in Hongyuan, and Otis, who could no longer stand Don Quixote's unintentional alterations of the story, jumped to her feet and shouted, "Damn it, what kind of nonsense are you feeding her? I never said anything like that." Verily, certain aspects of this retelling may have been exaggerated. That's tales of adventures for you. Things are bound to get a bit dry when the story is told too realistically and as is, right? You know, not even anything resembling a proper record or a book remained once the profound silence swept through this village. So I've always had a craving for these kind of stories. But Iberia doesn't stop Iberians from emigrating, contrary to their tight immigration control. Have you ever thought about leaving this place? It's still a challenge to cross the border, especially since we're going to have to pass through larger cities that are managed by the Inquisition. You don't seem particularly fond of this Inquisition. Why is that? That's because this village was formed by people who grew tired of living under the Inquisition's rule and fled. Sorry, but what kind of organization is this Inquisition? Sinclair asked, face turning cold upon hearing the word Inquisition and that people fled from it. Yeah, the nail and the hammer we saw back at Cull aren't the kind of memories that are so easily forgotten. According to Dr. Kaltzit, the Inquisition is what filled the power vacuum once Iberia fell into chaos. That its inquisitors are the rapier and the lamp-wielding protectors of Iberia cities from lawlessness. That alone kinda makes them sound like good people though? Yeah, they are, but there's the Church of the Deep. The Inquisition will go to whatever lengths to deal with the incidents related to the church that worships Seaborns. An organization that worships those monsters? It seems that cultish fanaticism is a plague wherever we go. I feel like people with all kinds of wrong faiths and beliefs are so common. See, the Seaborns are the ones that messed Iberia up. So following their logic, apparently it's okay for them to arrest anyone who seems even remotely connected to them. Are you saying that Iberia is like this because of the Seaborns? Those things from earlier, I guess they were kinda troublesome to deal with, but they didn't seem that strong. Anyways, it's just what I heard from Grams, but the Inquisition executed many innocent people too in their crusade against the Church of the Deep. For those who proclaim to be on the side of justice, they seem quite fond of committing such villainy. It seems like a reasonable policy decision to me, but it must pose a clear danger to the daily lives of civilians. Yeah, I heard I was the only survivor. Everyone in my family died. You must have had to endure such a long period of pain to be able to say something like that with such composure. For Iberia, they are heroes who will bring the land back to its glory days. Back to Gramps, they were just oppressors, making his life difficult. That's why we've all come here, fleeing from the Inquisition's gaze. Yet, wherefore hast thou decided to settle at a place that is so, run down? Indeed, yeah, I know, but it's not so bad once you get used to it. Besides, we managed to find a new path thanks to you guys. A new path? Well, it's getting late. Will you be repairing the ship tomorrow too? This place really has no soundproofing at all, huh? Good talk, everyone. Hope we'll get another chance to do this tomorrow too. After seeing Mayers to her own room, the other sinners, those who were still up anyway, and I laid ourselves on the hard stone floor with only a thin layer of cloth between it and our backs. A mysterious world that is neither the city nor the outskirts. But it seemed that the lives its people led were just as difficult as they were anywhere else. It's so big. Amazing. I didn't know there were remaining vessels of this class in Iberia. Aha, I espy her name here. 'Tis called by the name Rebellion de las Masas. Rebellion de las Masas, Revolt of the Masses, is it? A name very much mired in peculiarity indeed. Hong Lu chimed in that he was rather fond of it with its size being about the same as the boat from his home, while Ishmael quickly jumped in to correct us that its size alone wasn't anything special at the Great Lake, but it was still pretty big compared to Mephi or in the Indigo Elder's skiff. I thought it was going to be somewhere around Mephi's size at most. Are you sure you can get this ship fixed in a day or two? As I briefed you yesterday, the great majority of the time-consuming repairs had already been completed by the villagers. The extent of our repair efforts only concerns a few components within the vessel that the villagers could not repair. It shouldn't take us much time. Unless parts that are unfamiliar to Faust are also malfunctioning, such as the core engine, remaining repair should be sufficiently managed by Faust. Despite Otis' confident declaration, I could not help but feel oddly unsettled as I looked at the ship. I don't know why, but something tells me that we don't want to linger here for too long. Still, please be thorough about it just in case. I'd rather not sit on a sinking ship again. The experience of the Great Lake was enough. Do not worry, Dante. Unlike Mephistopheles, most functions of this vessel, buoyancy gear, propellers, steering gear, are all in operational capacity. This repair should be much easier than the case with Mephistopheles. They seem confident enough. It should be safe this time around, right? Are we taking that rope to climb up to the ship? No, there's a lift-like apparatus down here. You should take us up to the ship. Its stability was verified yesterday. Let us board the lift. You're 100% certain, right? The boat is afloat right now, Dante. I don't think it'll be sinking anytime soon. Wouldn't that be nice? Oi, are you two just going to faff about down there? We're heading up now. No, we're going with you. As I made my way into the vessel's bridge... Whoa. Does the lift... Is it a cargo lift? Does it hold 15 people all at once? I was greeted by the extravagant interior that was as gaudy as its exterior. This isn't real gold, is it? Sure is shiny as heck in here. I've got butterflies in my stomach. AS. Aesthetically satisfying, she says. But too ostentatious. Not quite my style. Our young Mephi is also quite the excellent vessel, yet imagine the adventures we could embark on board this vessel most lavishly decorated. As Faust and Otis were working on one of the control panels, Ishmael walked up to another and interfaced with it before giving a knowing nod. This might have been an investigative or research vessel of sorts, but it does seem a bit extravagant for one of those though. Look, coordinates, updating in real time it seems. The coordinates seem to have been set to somewhere out in the middle of the ocean. Maybe it points to a small islet? Nope, no islet there. Whoa! But blimey, lass, you sure know how to sneak up on people. Mayors? Haha, what? Did I actually surprise you? I did ask if you guys were gonna come fix a boat today. Still, I didn't know you'd be here. Why are the coordinates set to this location? There are several undersea cities beneath those coordinates, collectively known as Aegir. Graham's home. I see, understood. What was understood, if I may ask? It is now understood why the promise to repair this ship was sufficient to earn their trust and the title of saviors. What's she on about? Someone get translating. Consolidating and cross-referencing the observed particular circumstances of the village and the statements from the village chief alongside information garnered from the exchange of mayors, it is possible to gauge the significance this ship's repair has to the local populace. Of course, while this may constitute a sequence of logical connections that poses a certain challenge for Heathcliff to comprehend, to employ any degree of effort to attempt to explain it in a more digestible language could constitute a pursuit of inefficiency. You can just say that you don't want to say it, Faust. Come on. Lower the baton, I implore you. I shall explain it in full. I was wondering when Miss Smartass would start gabbing like that again, so what's she on about? Heathcliff's shoulders were relaxed. It didn't seem like he was actually going to swing the bat. He placed it lightly over his shoulder with a sigh. A brief observation of the village seemed to suggest that their subsistence situation was quite dire. Much of their daily sustenance consisted of dried food, most of them made for long-term storage purposes. Considering what Skadi said about how the coastal areas are full of danger, maybe those dried seafood aren't from around here either. Maybe it's food they packed when they first came to Faro Muerto. Some villagers were armed, yeah, and those sea terrors weren't exactly that formidable, but given the state the villagers are in, I doubt they'd have an easy time repelling those monsters. Indeed, and that brings us to the question of sustenance. Right, I get what's going on here. The lass and her granddad are about to visit their hometown and they're trying to get some food supplies from there to feed the villagers and to convince them they're planning to use the fact that they're from the same neck of woods, or sea, I guess. Oh, so they're not just repairing their ship, we're repairing their food supply plan too. Huh? What's wrong? It's While the expressions were rather crude, his summary of the situation was clear, to the point, and easily understood. The sinner stared at him with mild surprise. And I did too. What's with them annoying looks? Wait, oh you sods. You don't think I'm that dim-witted, do you? Top-notch intuition. It's just that it's been a while since you've shown this side of yourself. Thinking back, Heathcliff's intuition always been excellent, and he'd often put together surprisingly accurate conclusions with impressive speed. You know, when you really think about it, it's kind of your fault for, huh? I've been too soft on you lately, haven't I? Oi, get back here! Ahem. Now with those fools out of the conversation, was he correct? Otis looks away from the usual chaos and asks Mayers. Honestly, I'm surprised he was on point. Yeah, food's been running low on the village. At this rate, we won't last another year. But the Aegir I'm sure they'll welcome us with open arms. I don't want to come off like I'm overly worried, but do you think they'll welcome the others too? Unlike Mayors or Chief, they're not Aegir. I believe they will. Iberia suspects and hates the Aegir for no other reason than that we're from the sea, but our home cannot have fallen so low as to abandon a group of starving land dwellers. Prithee, might thou explain us who the Aegir are? I initially thought it to be the reference to a region, yet it also seems to refer to an affiliation of sorts. Maybe they're something like nest dwellers, though I don't think I've heard of a nest that accepts Breck treats people with open arms. Or maybe there used to be some rich folk. If they call themselves, if they call them nest thofts eager here, then does that make the rabbit-eared less eager too? Wait, in the world you came from, do they not distinguish between races? That is not entirely true. Delineation between races is a concept that does exist. Though I only saw them in the fathoms, there were those terrifying things called the cuckoo spawns. However, as a general rule, it can be said that humans should be the only intelligent life forms in the city. The people of Terra have slightly varying appearances depending on their race, like my Cottus ears. And I've got pointed ears because I'm an eager, though it's not a characteristic every eager shares. The closest idea to what they are discussing appears to be, Don Quixote seemed to be struggling to finish her sentence. Mersault stepped in to continue. By context clues and the manner of word usage, including the means of classification, the closest example in our world would be blood fiends. Similar external appearances to humans, different natures, comparable sapiens. It is of my belief that blood fiends are ostracized due to their nature that make of coexistence with humans difficult. It may be that the Aegir also... I'm sure some of them do possess qualities that make coexistence with others difficult, but they're probably rare. Then wherefore are they made subjects of suspicion and hatred? That's... well, the language is new, but the idea itself is pretty familiar to the city folks like us. Think of the feathers of fallen wings, kids born in the back streets, people who replace their body parts with prosthetics. The form differs, yet in its essence we find a thread. Something about how we keep finding these similarities in the ways of our lives, despite finding ourselves in a distant world with different rules, races, and humans, felt oddly discomforting. The point is, you guys are doing us a real solid by fixing up the ship. Let's move on from these gloomy conversations, okay? I want to show you the cooler parts of the ship this way. The ship told me had to wait. The repairs are almost completed, but an issue has arisen. Issue? Wow, that's not reassuring at all. Multiple life forms identified ahead, assumed to be Sea Terror Horde. The ship's radar system seems to suggest that the vessel is surrounded. They're the same monsters from yesterday. Executive Manager, please order us to prepare for battle. Damn it, are they the Sea Terrors you encountered? They look a bit different, but yeah, probably. There's a lot of them, but if our last experience tells us anything, we should be able to handle this. Amiya, please support us in battle like you did yesterday. Can Style fight young mayors? I feel like I'm gonna get in your way. Then, guys, find a place to keep mayors as far as possible from the battle. Then let's hurry down there. We don't want them damaging the ship any further. Combat. New enemy? Shell Sea Runner. Bite, sinking. If sinking, give sinking, then you sink, the sink, with the sink. Sinking. The idea of the egos, I do like it. When they first announced this collab way back when, I was pretty worried that they would... I did not like the idea that they would release it. They would release identities, because the issue with power creep always makes things less desirable for me to roll. But egos in this game have long-lasting features, so I was pretty happy that it was all egos. They had no plans on making any identity, so that's good. And I don't know how the story would how they would explain that law. Aside from that, the egos that they shown so far quite interesting. I like Gregor's new WoW ego, because his previous WoW ego is kinda shy. Though, to be honest, there was one time I used it, I didn't read how it worked. I just assumed it worked the same way as Hong Lu's WoW ego. So I just ended up using it. And then Gregor died, and I was wondering what the fuck happened. I was expecting him to hit to activate his ego. All the new identities that's coming anyways. So, well, it is what it is. The remaining entities have all returned to sea. Is everyone okay? It was just like our last skirmish. Sea terrors that had surrounded the ship returned to sea even before the battle came to an end. And their retreat felt too orderly and deliberate to be just running away. It's almost like they're making a tactical retreat. We're doing peachy, but what about the ship? Foul, is the ship okay? Minor damages to the hull, but nothing that will impede the ship's operational capabilities. Phew. So, I noticed during the battle, I might be wrong of course, but I think I noticed how around the end of the battle those monsters were starting to go after the manager? You're probably right, actually. I noticed too, at some point during our battle, those monsters realized that it's the manager who's commanding the rest of us. I sensed the very same. Their movements were fluid and adaptive, as though they were learning our behavior. Why does the Church of the Deep worship monsters like them? There ain't much of a question in it. They must have all gone mental. I'm sure they have many reasons, but Seaborns are beings of infinite potential, so much so that there's no superlative big enough to properly convey the scale. As organisms, they can endlessly evolve and adapt. Every time they encounter a new environment or a new element, they transform themselves and other Seaborns. Maybe that's their draw. That fascination may be an attitude most befitting a researcher, yet the transformation of fascination into idolatry is, if I may be frank, not entirely positive. I find them pretty uncomfortable. They just remind me of whales. Then, can they adapt to learn a language to communicate with us? What? Going by everything we heard, I think they sound really smart. Maya's eyes went round at Hong Lu's suggestion. She brought her hands to her mouth, surprised. It sure was something. I heard that there was a Seaborn who could talk. If non-humans speak the language of humans, regardless of its testament to their intelligence, I can only think of two possibilities as to why they would. One, to communicate with humans. The other, to deceive humans. More often than not, it's the latter. What about distortions? Some of them already know how to speak. Distortions are phenomena in which humans transform into monstrous forms, first observed after the White Nights and Dark Days incident. Therefore, that example is irrelevant to Otis's supposition. White Nights and Dark Days. She whispered quietly, but as we were standing rather close to her, we all caught on to the hint of joy in her voice. The pillar of light in the city, did it really? How have you come across this knowledge, Miss Mayers? Oh, that's... Ain't it obvious? We've got the culprit right here, the storyteller Lies who's been gabbing on with no end. Yeah, she's been talking non-stop all morning about all kinds of stories, hasn't she? Huh? Yet I have not gotten that far. You again? You didn't get so lost in your own stories that you blabbed all about our company's secrets, have you? Nay, I would simply not. As Don Quixote was subject to yet another round of scolding, Mia stared out toward the sea, wary that sea terrors might start crawling to the surface once again before turning toward us. I wonder which of the two the Seaborns are. Their sense of self is really faint, so I don't think they'd be in either category. I think it's possible that they learn human language out of instinct that the power of speech might help them survive. It appears that you, Miss Mayers, are quite the expert of the subject of Seaborns. Your knowledge of them goes beyond that what fear for one's survival may yield, thereby suggesting a different means of acquisition. Do you, by chance, worship the Seaborns? I don't worship Seaborns. Don't have any hopes or wishes, just desire for survival. Miss Mayers, does that mean if Seaborns were somehow able to hope? Maybe so. Is that so? The repairs are complete. As we were conversing, Faust descended from the ship with a neatly organized set of tools borrowed from the village. Repairs completed. I'm guessing repairs are done? Yes, the ship is ready to set sail. Do you have a departure time and date in mind? I would prefer if we could depart as soon as possible. We don't have a set time or anything, but I think we should be able to set sail this late afternoon at the earliest. That soon? As you've seen, we don't have a lot to bring with us. Haha. By the way, how far out to sea do you guys need to go? We need to find this dimensional door of sorts. I could see the dimensional door's light from the beach at night. It was faint, but given how the light's strong enough to break through the sea fog, we should be able to determine its location somewhere around the coastal waters, so we can go back tonight. The first order of business is to relay this news to the villagers. Yeah, back to the village for now. I'm getting the impression that Mayers does not exist in Arknights. In the Arknight story, she might be a original character for this event. Who's to say? That's just me speculating. There's something going on in the village. Yeah, I hear it too. I'm hearing people shouting and hollering. When we returned to the village ship repairs completed, we were welcomed by a rather hostile standoff. A quick count told me there were approximately 20 people assembled at the village square. Considering its population, that was pretty much the whole village. Excuse me. Who's that over there? Inquisitor. I think we've been found. The Inquisitor, dressed in a well-kept uniform, was about the same height as Don Quixote. The sword and the lamp hanging from her waist sits in stark contrast with the more run-down ramshackle village. She almost looked like a fixer from the city. So, the Inquisition has discovered our village. Did you really think that you could forever stay out of the Inquisition's gaze, citizen? That's a naive dream. Fabius disappeared from the Inquisition mid-interrogation under the charges of suspicion of membership within the Church of the Deep. Last known location, Salt Flat. The other Inquisitors have informed me that you have been identified next to pirates in its fringes. From a criminal to an outlaw, what a dramatic evolution of your career. But it ends here now. Every citizen here, including you, will be accompanying me to the Inquisition. They have never broken a single law, nor are they outlaws of any kind. They are not like me. They've disregarded the Inquisition's authority, evaded the gates of Iberia, and found a southern coast to lurk in. Tell me I'm not supposed to find that suspicious. What are you talking about? You can't just start arresting people left and right with a 10-year suspicion like that. You shouldn't. We only wish to live a quiet life, ma'am. Is that so? Then you might find yourself returning to this village one day as long as you're telling the truth. Which is not an option for you, Fabius. Mayus, was Chief really a pirate? Well, yeah, but as far as I know, he's been out of the game for a while. And even when he ran with the pirates, all he ever did was share fin-based jerky to villagers, or carry Agarians between them. Even if you're telling the truth, Mayus, I doubt the Inquisition will be lenient. Well, what now? I have but one question to ask. That Inquisitor, is she following the proper legal procedures? I don't know much about the law of Iberia, but Dr. Calcit told us that the words of Inquisitors were pretty much the law here. It is likely that she is following proper legal procedures. The procedures are precisely what the villagers have fled from, after all. Then it is decided. Otis quietly dragged me to the side and whispered outside Mayor's earshot. The seniors who were right next to me seemed to have picked it up though. Executive Manager, we best immediately return to the ship, take command of it and sail out on our own. It is unwise to involve ourselves in this conflict. What? Are you seriously suggesting that we just let them arrest the villagers? Didn't you hear what the Inquisitor said? It seems quite cut and dry to me. If this is just standard procedure with no local laws broken, we are in no place to involve ourselves. Our best hope is to take the ship before they impound that too. We can't do that, even if it is standard procedure, even if they're working within the law, it's not. You stayed up to hear Mayor's story too, didn't you? You know, the Angkor Inquisitors were working within the law too. When they came for the village, that was standard procedure too. If anyone had stepped in, then... I know what you went through, but I'd still rather not take a risk in an unfamiliar environment like this. I will try my best to figure out how to sail that ship. If I cannot, then I have faith in Ishmael to quickly learn its controls. I can't say you're wrong, but I don't know. Neither you nor I know anything about the ocean currents here, Otis. We can get the ship going, but I can't guarantee that we'll reach the dimensional door without any trouble. Do you know anything about the sea currents in this region? Not much, but I know the coastal sea somewhat. And you can't fight the Inquisitors here, directly here in Iberia. Fleeing with the ship might be the better option. What should we do, Dante? Yeah, I guess it's kinda awkward for us to just take the ship and go, huh? What about we try to talk to the Inquisitor then? I think we should at least try to hear them out. Them being the Inquisitor and the Chief, both. If the discussion goes well, we might even be able to get the Inquisition support. Like Mr. Hong Lu said, we should hear them out first, then try to convince them. I agree with them both. First, let's at least see what the Inquisitor has to say. R. What could that mean? Rabbit's right, she says. Are you certain that translation was accurate, Sinclair? Right? There's no way Roshu would choose anything other than violence, right? Idiots, it's because the other options are pointless. Inquisitors seen us, we're already under suspicion. She will doubtless try to stop us faithfully now, so talk first, lower her guard, then attack. Pretty sure that's not what Amia meant. Well, if she's already on to us, then we shouldn't give her any excuse to attack us by running away. I was wondering what you were doing there, looking in the background. Clock-shaped head. Are you from the Colombian Union? They're wearing a clock for a head due to reasons, but they have nothing to do with the Colombian Union. What's the Colombian Union? TikTok. What? Which language are they speaking? Regardless of whether you're from Colombia or not, you're clearly not from Iberia, let alone this village. You're not wrong, but I think there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. I'm quite certain you don't know enough about these villages to stand between them and an Inquisitor. How long have you been staying here? 2 days? Buddy, don't just tell it there. 2 days? Alright, enough of this chicanery. Get out of my way, outsider. The attempt appears to have been made on quite the unstable ground. Please lend us your ear for a minute, Inquisitor. I am Amir, leader of the Rhodes Island. Yes, I am aware of Iberia's close border situation. I felt hope swelling within me as Amir began with confidence, unlike Sinclair. Alas, it was short-lived. Thanks to the Inquisitor's quick retort, I couldn't help but place my palm against my forehead at the exchange that followed. Oh, so not only are we dealing with outsiders of dubious origin, we have illegal entry as well. We had to, because the issue demands urgency, and I've been briefed brazenly across the border, didn't you? I don't know how urgent the issue could be, but I doubt it's anything more significant than the situation at hand for Iberia and its Inquisition. The High Inquisitor is handling the Rose Island issue. Stay put and await the consequences while he and that chatty mad doctor of yours talk it out. Do know that your treatment may depend on her negotiation skill. As for the village chief, I understand that you have the right to arrest him, as he is a fugitive who has fled in the middle of interrogation and has been sailing with the pirates. However, it is an inhumane treatment to arrest the rest of the villagers as well. Inhumane? This decision is well within the rights bestowed upon the Inquisition. They've lived for years right next to the highly suspicious Ager. The Inquisition must investigate the rest of them as well to verify whether they have committed any acts of treason against our laws. This isn't going anywhere, is it? Listen, they've been surviving for years upon years by the coast without the protection of the Inquisition, and that simply cannot make sense. Wait, I think I've heard enough from you. Isn't it funny how you're blaming them for what essentially a failure of your responsibilities, and now you roll up here only to go they shouldn't be alive from arresting them all? What, are you saying these people should all be dead or something? I am. There's no other way to cut it. People simply shouldn't be able to survive in a place like this, not for this long. The Inquisitor's reply only seemed to fan Heathcliff's wrath as he lifted his bed and began striding forward. That's it. Lass, if you ever so much as touch the tip of a single villager's hair, please calm yourself, Heathcliff. But Hong do step in between them. Get your bloody hands off me. I've had enough of her. Continuing to threaten her will cause something irrevocably bad to happen. I believe you know that yourself, Heathcliff. What do you suggest then? We're clearly not making any progress by trying to talk this out. Excuse me, Mr. Inquisitor, what do you mean that people shouldn't be able to survive in a place like this? God, are they having dialogue? I mean it literally. Even by some miracle that they actually do survive, they should at least be suffering from endless hunger, struggling to their wits' end at the inevitability of the calamity, but they look too healthy. The heck? Then shouldn't you be applauding them for managing to survive through so much hardship? I'm an Inquisitor. I'm not some crazy person on a power high who goes around accosting and arresting civilians of Iberia straight to the gallows, okay? I have more than enough probable cause to take them in for interrogation. It's just that I don't have the time or the energy to explain every single one of them to you outsiders. I promise them a fair judgment, whichever way they may be after a proper investigation. So, stop it with this obstruction of justice. The Inquisitor brandished her rapier threateningly, her voice shaking with frustration. Dante? Without the full picture of the circumstances, Faust advises against further antagonization of a local political authority. I agree with Faust. I get the feeling that she isn't the kind of heartless Inquisitor that goes around indiscriminately executing innocents like Miss Meyers told us about earlier. I don't think she's anything like the Inquisitors of Encore we saw back at Cal. They were right. We didn't have the full picture of the circumstances. Getting in the way of an Inquisitor who was clearly a rather significant political entity in the area was most likely a bad idea. It isn't the Inquisitor's job to answer your questions. Continue to obstruct me then. The standoff was showing no signs of ending, Miss Mayers. I can answer your questions, so for now let's do as the Inquisitor says. Mayers, who had been hiding behind us ever since we returned to the village, suddenly stepped forward. Yet, what of thy grandfather and the villagers? It's alright, I'm sure this is happening only because the Inquisitor doesn't know. What do you mean you'll answer the questions? About the profound silence. Mayers' response to Otis was but a single concept. I didn't quite grasp its significance, but it seemed to surprise the Inquisitor. That's what they call the calamity that destroyed Iberia. I don't know. What's going on?
한눈 팔지 마세요. 메마른 당신에게 파도는 반드시 밀려올 테니.
Nice. Are we gonna fight an Inquisitor? You. Decades ago, a great wave ravaged through Iberia. It wasn't long before the seaborns carried by the waves diminished Iberia's brilliant civilization to this. The waves. The profound silence then must have reduced the village to its current state as well. Is there any reason it's called the profound silence? It doesn't seem to be the most appropriate moniker for a calamity like that. It's because the sea went dead silent before the waves came. The silence then claimed ships out at sea, then the cities of Iberia, then the Iberians. I mean, the correlation between the profound silence and the certain black silence that we know seems kinda, I don't know, intriguing. No one could say a word in face of the ineffable calamity. Just what are you? No average Iberian citizen should be privy to any of the information you're sharing. And the Church of the Deep is really capitalizing on the pandemonium that followed the profound silence. They pretend to be eager from the sea, they lead to the citizenry of Iberia and are sowing chaos in her lands. So that's why they're arresting the eager left and right. I can see the thought process, but so it's understandable why the Inquisitor would want to arrest us. Dante, this isn't good. Sharing that seems to have some kind of a taboo-like thing for the Inquisition. The Inquisitor wordlessly stared at me as her eyes were filled with traces of anger and confusion, but she's afraid. There was fear in the face of a threat, not the fear of the terrified, no, it's the fear of someone who's suddenly confronted with something they must destroy. The High Inquisitor once told me that should I come across any eager who knows too much, there is a sliver of a chance that they may be of assistance to Iberia. Cease, thou art threatening the innocent with thy brandishing of the firearm. But most are seduced by the allure of the sea, thus they are, with little doubt, our foes. I've got a bad feeling about this. Get out of my way outside the final warning. Run! Quick on the uptick as always, Rhodia slung Mayers over her shoulder and ran past the villagers, while the sinners scattered in all directions to distract the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor draws her firearm, and in the midst of all that action, Don Quixote rushed toward the Inquisitor without a moment's hesitation. Don Quixote? Thou shalt go no further. I, a fixer of justice, shan't abide by as thou persecute them. Forsooth, 'tis a battle delayed, not avoided. This clash is inevitable. In that moment of crisis, seconds before this could irrevocably make us a new enemy. Monitor. Yo! That's the lady from Faust's Ego. A large obsidian crystallization in the shape of a monster burst forth between the two of them. Who is it this time? That's enough meaningless bickering. Oh, it's Kaltzit. Dr. Kaltzit. Do you know her? Yes, she's Dr. Kaltzit. Rhodes Island's medical departments. Dr. Kaltzit behind you. Shoot first, talk later, is it? The negotiations are over. From this moment onward, Rhodes Island is now operating within legal capacity on Iberian territory under the Inquisition's authorization. The Inquisition fired a blast of that firearm-looking weapon, but the monster summoned by Kaltzit managed to deflect it. And the cannonball thrown from the weapon punched clean through the wall of the building we stayed the night in, before punching through several other buildings behind it. That was enough to instantly freeze the sinners and the villagers on the spot. That penetrated the building. Though their walls may be weakened in the head standard for what counts as a building's exterior wall, to punch through so many years. What a precise point it makes. Now's not the time to stand around impressed. It is a violation of a taboo to have that much penetrative power in a firearm. We're not in the city, don't lose your heads over these taboos, don't apply here. My head knows that to be true, yet my heart finds it difficult to be still. That is enough of that discussion for now. It is advisable that we carefully observe and grasp the situation at hand instead of deliberating on the taboo or juristic taboo the jurisdiction of which does not reach this far. Yeah, so the situation's gotten slightly better, right? If she's Amiya's friend, she's our ally. Besides, she's got some powerful looking prosthetic. Super powerful looking prosthetic gear looking thing too. Is that what you think? I apologize for the disappointment, but I'm not on anyone's side. In other words, your particular denomination or ally might not be entirely correct. However, if I must define my allegiance, then let me inform you that the closest label would be that I am Inquisitor Irene's ally. Dr. Cults it. Amiya, outsiders. As much as you would like to deny it, the Inquisitor's suspicions are true. While it can be said that the process by which she reached that conclusion was unfair, the conclusion itself is without a doubt correct. So they're actually connected to the Church of the Deep. That is one way to put it. To be more precise, they aren't connected to the Church of the Deep. They are the Church of the Deep. Perhaps the village itself is a dilapidated church of their congregation. Our village? A church? Just look at our buildings. Where would we even congregate? Your thoughts, Faust? There are not many resources by which we may analyze the decision. However, the fact that Amiya's colleague has made the same argument as the Inquisitor brings the accused defense into question. Yet I can hardly believe that young Mias is lying to us. Hold on. You've been chatting plenty with the Inquisition or whatever. How do we know you weren't aligned with them the whole time? I see, you really are all entirely in the dark. And an unexpected outcome, given that all of you may be from a place far beyond the dimensional door. As fortune should have it, there is no need for you to know it anyway. Truth is truth, unchanging, without the acceptance from an errant group of outsiders. Besides, soon, I'm sorry, it seems that we've mired you in this trouble. Say no such thing. We shall not abide by as one such injustice is perpetrated before our eyes. The village has already been identified by the Inquisition, and the Inquisition has even brought an ally. It seems quite unlikely that words shall resolve this conflict, but we promise you, we will take responsibility for what is done. We have benefited far too much from your warmth and kindness not to do so. Okay. The village chief, with a benevolent look, pulls a dagger from his cloth, and I immediately knew what Kazi was about to say. Take responsibility, you don't have to go deaf. Blimey! We are now departing for the sea, yet as we cannot bring ourselves to leave you here, I must ask you to join us for this journey, become our bloodkin. What are you doing? Stop! The unanticipated, or perhaps I was simply in denial of this rising dread, ambush did not end there. Damn it, the Inquisitor was right. The villagers suddenly began shanking the sinners with weapons they had concealed in their clothes, and it seemed that they were coming for me as well. Amiya, on your left. Amiya materialized a black ribbon-like apparition, parrying away the dagger flying in my direction. But another villager rushed in, taking advantage of the opening. The charging villager's back made a visceral crunchy noise. Someone flung them away. Didn't mean to be this late. Skadi, let me catch you up to speed. I know the situation. This fishy smell was what I went to investigate earlier. What about the sinners? Unlike Amiya and I, who managed to survive the initial ambush, the sinners weren't doing so well. At least we had a silver lining that the Inquisitor and cult said quick understanding of the situation, and the subsequent retaliation led the villagers away from the sinners. How? I didn't notice any hostility or aggression. What an odd thing to say. Why would we hold any animosity against you? Why would we intend to kill you? We are not trying to hurt you. We are simply trying to give you a form better suited for the sea, until we were obstructed. I apologize for our unfamiliarity has caused you trouble, Inquisitor. I won't make a big stink about what happened. What's truly unforgivable is that the heretics tried to take advantage of the ignorance of outsiders to flee the Inquisition. And even if you are outsiders, any lives lost on Iberian soil are my responsibility. It's my fault. I'm sorry it came to this. Wait, lives lost? We're still alive, you know. We can shake off a stab wound like, this is most unfortunate, outsider. Huh? What? Your friends are either going to die or turn into seaborns. The daggers that stabbed them were laced with the flesh of the sea terrors. Once that happens, most die, and the survivors become overwritten by their cells, becoming nothing more than another sea monster. What? That's not a very big deal? Everyone was acting like this was it for the sinners, but hey, I should be able to deal with this pattern in the clog. It's not that bad. My only concern was that I didn't know what would happen if I tried to bring them back after they fully transformed into seaborns. The golden bow helped deal with the wheel's palidification effects. But I had no idea how it would interact with Seaborn transformation. I should just kill them before they turn. I know this must be very hard for you, but what? Sorry to bother you with this, but can I kill my friends? And preferably in the least painful way, you know? Oh, sorry, was the last part kinda too much to ask? Oh wait, don't give up already. If we bring them back to Rhodes Island, we should be able to do something to help them. How should I explain this? Guys, can you... Dante, I know what you mean, but I just can't right now. My strength has rapidly deteriorated since the ambush. It's kinda tingly too, so maybe they use some kind of paralytic cocktail? Just trust me, this one time I can assure you that I'm not just giving up on them, but I'm here. Can you understand outside the speech? Yes, it's just that they're making a pretty difficult request. They want me to kill all their friends before they transform into Seaborns. Okay. And before we even knew it, Skadi had already decapitated the sinners, none of them whom resisted. Amiya seemed to have been taken aback by how fast Skadi jumped into action. What are you doing? Skadi, don't let this spook you, this is just how you roll. The clock turns. Damn! Dante be like... It's fine. The decapitated head scraped towards the headless torsos, connecting with the threads of blood. The sensation is that of reversal. It feels as though the sinners and I are severed from the rest of the world, rewinding in isolation. Is this rewinding us going back in time, or are we defying the concept itself? The pain is multifold worse than the sensation of a straightforward decapitation. The pain is in the heart. As the current of death reverses, I sense a deep, crushing isolation. Their wounds are disappearing. Resurrection, metempsychosis, or time reversal. Puzzling. I have no knowledge with which to interpret this technology. The cause seems to be that the pain is transferred to one who rewinds. But that seems too small a price for such great power, though the discussion of whether this can be categorized as power should be explored later. I couldn't stop shaking, all of my limbs were trembling from the icy solitude. Still, I took a moment to collect myself and ordered the sinners. I don't know just what they were thinking, but hey yo, what is going on over here? No, this shit at Don Quixote smiles crazy. Mersault just cracking his neck, fixing his tile. This shit, you know, Otis Rhodia. Mad lads. We should be able to find out once we take them down. You dare deceive the executive manager and try to take their life? Prepare thyself, for thou shalt now pay the price for making a mockery of justice. Yeah, we can't just let this slide, you know? How unfortunate. I had high hopes that all of you would become fine bloodkins. Ooh. Oh. Every surviving ally. High stacks escapes battlefield. Whoa. It's gonna run away like a little bitch. Good enough for me. I was expecting, you know, maybe a NPC help from Skadi or the command meltdown lady. What's that? Meter? I got a name. That would be cool. You're not clashing. Why aren't you clashing? Okay. One shoot crush gets unopposed. Ah, my goodness. So the only one you can clash is with Honglu or fine with me. Neutral. Ah, for fuck's sake. Yeah, do that and then do that. Yeah, this is all favorite.
행동을 개시합니다.
Yep, sounds about right. Alright, Tentacle Man. Damn.
해보기는 할게요.
Don't know why I
안
pressed
되면
it.
어쩔 수 없지만요.
Damn, he actually almost won. And I'm really not rolling hits on anything, huh? I don't think we won a single clash. What the hell is going on? Alright. Faust needs to start Fausting, I guess.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
Sounds about right. Damn. You think you can stop pursuing?
내가 너를 기도할 것이니
Bitch.
넌 반드시 부서진.
Okay, Gregor just fucked off. I forgot. Roshu just came in and she's already rolling better than Ishmael. Oh, he also left. Alright, bye. Goodbye, have a nice day.
해보기는 할게요. 안 되면 어쩔 수
Damn.
없지만요.
Damn. Holy shit! She actually won! First time saying this.
한눈 팔지 마세요. 내 말은 당신에게 파도는 반드시 밀려올 테니.
Whoa. Alright, pretty cool, pretty cool. Nice. Nice. Wait, I think they're heading to... He's running himself into a dead end. Are they seeking refuge at sea? Wait, that's where the ship is. That's where they're headed. They're trying to board the vessel Masas. Wait, but we never told them that the ship was repaired. So how? Ain't it obvious the whole village is in on it? It ain't a surprise that they'd send someone to spy on us, or they know a way to get the ship floating even in its broken state. Vessel Masas? Vessel Rebellion de las Masas. That ship is moored at a port in that direction. Wait, it can't be. Irene, who was preoccupied with battling the rest of the followers of the Church of the Deep who were in hiding, quickly gave chase. But Fabius and the villagers who were already aboard the repaired ship, slowly departing the harbour with a horde of sea terrors between us and them. How can a vessel of that size become operational this fast? The exterior, the name, it must have been constructed during the golden age of Iberia. This is the first time I see Otis with that expression. But how are we supposed to chase that? What if we build a raft and rode after them? Mate, come on. Sea is full of sea terrors. It won't get very far before it sinks. Do you see something, Amiya? You keep looking in that direction. Oh. The vessel Masa soon disappeared into the mist, and the village was empty with nary a sign of people ever having been there, as though this getaway had all been premeditated. Leaving only Mayor. Oh, damn it. Can we just take any ship to go after it? It's a research vessel. It can't possibly be very fast. This will be difficult. Even if it is a research vessel, I'm sure it was constructed during the golden age of Iberia. No average ship can keep up with it. Which is a problem because I doubt we have any ship that can travel at the same speed. We only have a few small vessels left, which are all anchored too far from this location to be feasible options. Do we have any recourse? No, not unless we can identify the exact location of the vessel. Which is the real problem. We can find ourselves a ship to go after them, yes, but most eyes of Iberia, the lighthouses, were lost during the profound silence. Wait, when you say most, do you mean there's some left? Just one, as far as I know, the one in Gran Faro, but that lighthouse cannot be used at this moment. There's another. There's a lighthouse you can use. Really? Are you really going to give one of the villagers the benefit of the doubt? Young Scuddy have already confirmed her to be safe. All I confirmed is whether she's a seaborn or not. Can't know if she's a cultist. 'Tis true, yet once we saw the Mayor's was left all on her own, we decided to have her accompany us at all times and keep her within Irene's eyeshot. We couldn't possibly blame her for what happened, given Scuddy's confirmation that she doesn't have anything to do with those sea monsters. Besides, they'd all left her behind. But Irene still seemed to harbor a bit of suspicion. The problem of the Jaeger is that she simply knows too much. Where could she possibly have gained access to all that information? See, she can't even answer that question. But let's think about it this way. What if we were to ask her what we don't know? The location of that lighthouse, for example. They're ticking rapidly. What did they say? Dante says that we should approach it differently and ask her what we don't know, like the location of the lighthouse. That seems like a reasonable suggestion to me, or does the Inquisitor have an alternate solution to this conundrum? No, but... Fine, let's hear it. I won't interrogate you about how you have access to things that even us Inquisitors don't know, but at least not right now. Faro Muerto, Dead Lighthouse, that's our village name. Somewhere a little ways off from the coastline, there's an intact eye of Iberia on the sea. Though it was almost destroyed when the profound silence swept through. Off the coastline? Is it not connected to the land? I think it must be until it sank. We should be able to procure ourselves enough wooden material from the village to build a raft. Is it near enough for a raft to be a means of access? The weather's not great today, but it should do. It's not very far from the coast. Even you're going to trust the Aegir? I don't see why I shouldn't. I understand the Iberian mistrust the Aegir is quite profound, yet such sentiment is hollow to the rest of us. Inquisitor Irene. What did you feel when you saw the Rhodes Island operator? If you're talking about the Cortes, nothing in particular. Other than slight annoyance when she accused me of being inhumane. So you didn't harbor any hostility nor disgust, not that you would have felt any sense of sympathy or empathy either. I thought, I have no history of feelings for or against the Aegir. Such must be the saying of the outsiders. What's she on about? She is conveying that in matters in regards to mayors, our opinions are more objective than Irene's. Finding the vessel Fabius commandeered will be of benefit to all. Limbus company will gain an opportunity to return to the city via the dimensional door, while the Rhodes Island will have the chance to study it at the closer proximity. And the Inquisition will gain possession of the vessel in which the technology from the Iberian Golden Age is contained. What? You're going to just hand that over to the Inquisition? Why should we covet what was once Iberia's? Well, there certainly are aspects to that vessel that draw interest. I already have a state-of-the-art masterpiece known as Mephistopheles. As long as that can be guaranteed, I see no reason to refuse. Irene eventually agreed to put her trust in Mayors. We are in luck, Executive Manager. It is quite fortunate that our interests align exactly with that of the first strangers we encountered in a strange land. Lucky is right. Imagine if we were back in the city, it would have taken them like 3-4 free distortion hunts for us to come to this agreement. Sorry about having to settle you with these Mayors. Please lead us to the lighthouse. Okay, happily. So when you said almost destroyed, how almost destroyed is it? I heard that the light faded from the lighthouse a long time ago, but the ship still stands. At least it was when I saw it a few months ago. If the lighthouse is in an inoperable state, we're going to need an expert technician to get it back in working order. The technology is based on is completely divorced from the popular application of the Originium technology, so I doubt there's anyone out there who can work it anymore. Then you didn't worry about that. Here we have an engineer and a researcher who are geniuses even among those in the city, so we should be able to manage most mechanical failures. Today is just revelation after revelation, huh? I can vouch for Limbus company's skill. I can also work on the simpler task. I've learned a thing or two helping out Gramps. Stuff about the lighthouse or various tech stuff. Well, then should we all head to the lighthouse together? No, I'll be leaving the group for a moment. Amiya will accompany you instead. What? After all that, you're just going off on your own? Yes, to join the doctor. It is imperative for the successful execution of this mission. Of course, that hinges on Amiya and Skadi remaining behind here to assist the rest of you. Thus, I will leave it to the rest of you to take the Eye of Iberia or the lighthouse back. Wait, what do you mean take back the lighthouse? Is there someone or something out there that's taken over the lighthouse called the Eye of Iberia? I like this supposition. Amiya, what did the manager of Limbus company say? They're asking if the lighthouse has been taken over by something. Not a bad intuition. Yes, there is a high likelihood that the structure has already been overrun by sea terrorists. I don't know about overrun, but I've encountered them a few times when we approached it too closely. Normally, this is hardly enough personnel to attempt a raid on the lighthouse, but answer me this. Jabao you. What does Hong Yuan need? Are there any limitations to their revival? There are no restrictions as long as Dante, the manager, survives. However, do note that battle efficiency depreciates with prolonged battle due to mounting mental stress to the manager. No need to change the plan then. Amiya, use this communicator to alert me as soon as you are able to identify the coordinates of the vessel from the lighthouse. If luck would have it, We should be able to reduce the time it takes to complete the retrieval mission. Okay, as long as you're not taking everyone with you. If it's just her who's leaving, then go ahead. I think we should be fine too. Then let us commence mission Vessel Massage Retrieval. Righto, step 1 of the plan's the raft, right? Let's get on with it. It's done, let's go. Why are you looking at us like that? Is there something bothering you? Must you ask? Just look at how proactive and quick she is to jump to action. Certainly lives up to the image of an employee working for a large corporation. Thanks, Otis, for that charitable view, I guess. Thanks to Scuddy, who had already finished the first step of the plan, we were able to move on to step 2 immediately. After a while of carefully sailing on Scuddy's raft along the coastal cliffs, a gargantuan shrouded lighthouse emerged from the thick mist. Eye of Iberia. Even in its dilapidated, ruined state, touches that are at once monumental and sensitive are apparent on the exterior construction of the lighthouse. Some even call these lighthouses guardians of Iberia. It retains the grandeur of the era as it was built during its golden age. You really know everything, don't you? It is as she said, but now, these lighthouses are nothing but graveyards of countless inquisitors and soldiers of the penal battalion. No one who's attempted to retrieve a lighthouse has ever survived the expedition. Can you please not say scary stuff like that, Miss Irene? We are literally about to walk into one. Don't you ever quit chirping? What are you, a foul beast? Stop yapping in my ear. Was this one such a coward unlike the rest of you outsiders? I'm not a coward, I'm just voicing my... She did just say some pretty concerning stuff. How long do you think the repairs will take? Its exterior is rather heavily damaged. However, from what is visible from the outside, its interior is still quite intact. With Miss Faust's expertise, it should not take very long. Yi Sang suggested with a smile, but Faust maintained her silence for the entire journey to the lighthouse. Then said something pretty concerning in response. Of course, my wit remains unmarred, even in such uncertainties. The currents are pretty wild. Someone's going to have to stay behind and keep an eye on the raft. We can't just leave it here unattended, but I don't know if we can carry it either. I'll stay here and protect the ship. You sure you can handle this alone? I know you're strong, but maybe 1 or 2 more people should stay behind just in case. No, don't need them. Sea terrors will swarm the islet if I go with you anyway. So, this has nothing to do with you. So what she's trying to say is that she's worried about you not having enough people to take on the lighthouse when she can handle this area alone, which is why she is okay with staying behind alone. Thanks for explaining. Some people just can't help but hop through an extra hoop, I guess. Well then, let's trust her. We'll be back, Scuddy. Luckily, we didn't run into any sea terrors on our way to the lighthouse gates. The problem was that the gates were bound shut by strange blue tissues. Reminds me of that L-Corp branch back at U-Corp, though that one was white. I don't think I can do anything to force it open myself, so... Guys, can you pry open this door? Oi, move over. I'll pull from the right side, you grab the left, and... we'll all pull together at 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Huh? Something's off here. What are you doing? The door is firmly secured in place. This flesh tissue regenerates almost as soon as it is torn. Perhaps you'll need to tap into a wilder form of art to get this opened. Well, what now? This strange flesh tissue growing on the gates is sea terror. It reacts to the lamp, but it's grown too much to be affected by it in any meaningful capacity. Scuddy might be able to open this door with her incredible strength, but... should I go fetch her? But I think she's already fighting off the sea terrors from sinking the raft. So we're all on our own. Maybe there's an identity card or ego I could use to get through this. So which one? Huh? Just as I was pondering a familiar question, a faint black glow came into view, then devoured my sight. It's no intuition or inspiration. It's different from those sudden flashes of realization. And it's not the star of that day that I think of from time to time. It's not the horrible door that I see every time I turn the clock either. The formless and black space in which I am not permitted to see, a faint noise, a whisper, cuts through it. And through that opening, I see light. I reach out to the opening and see Skadi, born from a very, very warm gaze. Skadi? Powerful imagery crashes onto me like the waves. Skadi, the staggering dancer wielding a blade. Skadi, who flaunts her flowing locks. And Skadi, the singer, humming in a low voice. Beyond the fringes of cognition, Skadi's existence has become engraved. The sinner who can wrestle and control this oceanic tidal power is... Dante, are you alright? I'm good, and I don't think we'll need to send for Skadi. Huh? What? Hey, Ishmael, I've never used this ego before, but I need you to trust me and accept it. Huh? An ego? I nod quietly. Well, it's not like we ever get to have a practice run with those ego, whatever it is. Seems to me our managers found a solution. Her confusion is short-lived. She lets out a carefree laughter before stepping forward, boldly twirling her mace once. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Get corroded? Yo! They're forcing it.
한눈 팔지 마세요. 메마른 당신에게 파도는 반드시 밀려올 테니.
Oh, they didn't ever bother putting the door there. Cracks on the lighthouse are growing. I think she destroyed the door instead of opening it. So sorry, didn't think it'd be this strong. Well, the door's open. What are we waiting for? No, I mean, what? Just what was the part where you... What, the part where I suddenly changed into a different outfit and equipped a different personality? Yes, that. This is most fascinating, that an ego could be drawn here in lieu of the mirror of Mephistopheles. I think I connected to Amiya's subconscious mind. There was this strange, unfamiliar light and I saw Amiya's emotions attached to her memories and experiences, so I just reached out to them. My subconscious mind? I just had this feeling that it would work. Sorry about peering in without asking first. But I didn't see anything other than things about Skadi. All I needed were memories and emotions that can be used to understand the being that is Skadi. It's okay, I also have experience with gaining power from others' memories and emotions to overcome difficult situations. Maybe that's how you were able to draw something from me as well, Dante? That is the most appropriate assumption, especially in a situation in which delving into its principles is impossible. So that's called ego? Verily, of course, Limbus Company's ego is quite distinguished from the other kind of ego which are bloomed from within oneself. That is enough. No further information is to be divulged to outsiders. Yet it matters not whether young Mayors and young Amiya learn of this. I agree with that fool this time. The Inquisitor used an artillery projectile that penetrates the outer wall, several of them, in fact, of a building, and the head did not pursue her following that breach of taboo. This is clearly not the city. Ain't it better to let out her heart out than to hear her moan and whine about not being able to say anything? He looks very unenthusiastic. I am confused. I am convinced. Do as you will then. Faust's reply sounded almost sulking, but Don Quixote immediately began to expound upon ego to Irene and Mayors anyway. But everyone was too busy to pay attention to her, as the wet, slithering noise from a distance had put everyone on edge. Can we do that later? We've got some cleaning up to do. So there were more sea terrors past the door. I think any sea terrors from the sea are all converging around Skadi, which means our only roadblocks are sea terrors still lingering around the lighthouse. Let's go. Let's take this lighthouse back. Oh, it's a new one. Another sea founder. All affinity resistances. Whoa. Cool. What is this? Hand of the Saint. Damn. I'm probably not gonna remember that.
이런
1 HP. 1 HP. What the hell no.
를 제거하겠소.
한눈 팔지 마세요. 메말은 당신에게, 파도는 반드시 밀려올 테니.
There were more sea terrors than we expected near the lighthouse, but thanks to Irene's lamp, the light of which paralyzed their nervous systems, paired with the rather narrow passageways, we were able to handle them without much trouble. Also, as the control room was, unlike the exterior wall, mostly undamaged, Faust shared the good news that the repairs most likely won't take very long. Yi-sang was right. Fortunately, the inside is barely damaged. How are you progressing, Miss Faust? It is almost complete. Be best prepared to leave. Then I'll radio the doctor. Let's... A tremor shakes the building with a loud boom, and debris begins to fall from the ceiling. The lighthouse's precarious floor suddenly collapses from the shock. The floor's giving away. What's going on out there? Something rammed against the eye of Iberia. I see odd shattering through the ocean's surface, the chill explosive force turning water into mist. And it is charging at us once again. Whoa! And as Yi-sang noted, I saw the shadow of a dark figure through the ruptured outer wall of the lighthouse, charging ferociously at the ruined structure. The figure looked a lot like one of those knights of the city's western region Don Quixote would talk at length about. The lighthouse might crumble at this rate. And then we have no choice. We have to stop whatever's out there. Faust, stay here. The rest of us will descend the lighthouse, and the lighthouse is almost fully functional. It'll only take some finishing touches to have its light shine again, which I can handle, so I'll stay behind. Seems entirely unnecessary to leave the rest to you. I would much rather leave it to Faust, who is an expert. I've read about the Seaborn before. The fables and legends say that he is the last knight, and if those stories have any grain of truth in them, you're going to need all hands on deck to even have a chance at stalling it. You better prepare for a few days of interrogations once I bring you into the Inquisition. Your decision, Executive Manager. All hands on deck. Leave the lighthouse to me. We have to put a stop to that night somehow. Waves crest high and violent behind the spear-wielding knight. We have to protect the already precarious lighthouse against the knight. The knight begins to charge at us, his steed splitting the very sea, and I instinctively know that this isn't going to be easy. One day, wheat grains he planted did not sprout. One day, he stopped feeling the scent of life before his breaths. Thus, he rides against the currents, hunting after waves. He seeks the waves, reproaches them, and eventually brings out their destruction. Faint memories, having blinked through Amiya's fathoms, flash briefly before my eyes, and the Seaborn Knight wields his great lance against surface sea terrors. He shudders as though with repulsiveness, but he does not stop. You obstruct progress and cover the lands. That is impermissible. This is the land. The Knight and the sea terrors don't necessarily seem to be on the same side. Perhaps diplomacy may be a viable solution here. Overcome the bellowing roar and try to talk to the Knight, the nicer one. Of course we talk to him. Who will overcome? Moses! Speak. Damn. We are not the sea, we are not its waves. The Knight's great lance falters with doubt. Waves are the only thing that hold any meaning to him.
훌륭한 작전 덕분에 승리했을 뿐입니다.
Take it. What? Japanese in my Korean? Alright. A priority mid. But we can.
규정에 따라 실행합니다.
Well. Damn. You don't have to zoom around like Vergilius, man. Go down. They're definitely not gonna be easy now, isn't it? manscaping all the SP while mine.
ご一緒できて本当に嬉しいです。
God, kidding me. Can't even have a nice. You know what? Fuck this. Of course. This really looks like a pain in the butt. So much so that I'm just gonna